So this guy goes to prison because he was trying to smash on the moon. Let me explain. So the dude's name is Thad, and he's 25, he's an intern at NASA in Houston, and he's part of some elite co-op program for aspiring astronauts. I mean, this is basically his dream job. But one day, while Thad is at work, he notices this big safe in the lab. And in this safe, there are a bunch of real, actual rocks from the moon that astronauts had previously gathered from all the different moon landings. And Thad is looking at this safe like, I bet these rocks would be worth a lot of money. And he also notices there aren't really any security measures around the safe. So old Thad, he comes up with a plan to steal them. Now first, he needs to figure out if someone would even buy stolen moon rocks from him. So he goes and he meets up with an old friend in Utah. This guy, Gordon. And Gordon, he agrees to find a buyer for these moon rocks that Thad is going to steal. And Gordon, he gets online and he actually does find a potential buyer. This mineral collector from Belgium. His name's Axel. And I don't know what Axel looks like, but I assume he looks like this. Now Axel, he immediately thinks Gordon is really shady. So he goes and he secretly reports him to the FBI. And so the FBI tells Axel, look, go and email with him, start a dialogue back and forth while we investigate. Because they're trying to look into whoever this person is who's claiming to be selling moon rocks. Meanwhile, over the next few months, Thad is working on his master plan to break into the safe at the NASA lab. But then, out of nowhere, one day, bam, he meets this woman, Tiffany. And Tiffany is 22, she's also an intern at NASA, and Thad thinks she is fine. And even though Thad is already married, he really wants to smash with Tiffany. Well, lucky for him, Tiffany also thinks he is fine. And they fall in love, and Thad tells Tiffany about his big plan to steal these moon rocks from the safe at NASA and sell them. And Tiffany, for whatever reason, she's like, oh, that sounds great. We totally won't get caught. And she agrees to help him with this heist. So late one night, after the NASA buildings are all closed and everyone's gone home, Thad and Tiffany, they show up to the lab, ready to pull off this moon rock heist. And they use their credentials to enter into the building, and they go into the vault where the safe is. Now, there is no oxygen in the vault. This is to protect the rocks. Plus, there's a thermal alarm. So Thad and Tiffany, they have to change into full neoprene bodysuits with a breathing apparatus before they go in. Otherwise, they'll set off the thermal alarm. So they put the suits on, they go into the vault, but then, unfortunately, Thad can't crack the safe open. And so, he and Tiffany, they just say, fuck it, and they load the entire 600-pound safe onto a dolly, and they wheel the whole thing out of the building, and they put it in their Jeep. Now, believe it or not, there is actually another intern involved in this scheme for some reason. And she's their getaway driver, and she drives them all over to a Motel 6. And there, in the motel room, the three of them, they use a skill saw and a crowbar to break the safe open. And inside, there's about 22 pounds of moon rocks and some Martian meteorites, which is all valued at about $21 million. Wow. Then, the next weekend, Thad and Tiffany, they drive all night from Houston all the way to Orlando to meet up with Gordon and some potential buyers he found. So Thad and Tiffany, they take the trip to Orlando. And when they get there, they book a hotel room and they decide to celebrate their successful moon rock heist and their upcoming sale of the rocks. So Thad, he grabs some of the moon rocks and he puts them all over the bed, and then they cover them up with a blanket. And then he and Tiffany, they smash on top of these rocks. And I'm not making this up, so that they can say that they had sex on the moon. Yeah! Regardless, I guess their heist worked, because now they're about to sell these and make millions. Until... Here's the thing about these buyers they're supposed to meet in Orlando. These buyers are allegedly some relatives of Axel's. But of course, they're not. These buyers are actually undercover FBI agents. So Thad and Tiffany, they go to this Italian restaurant where they meet up with Gordon and these buyers he found, aka the undercover feds. Then they all drive back to the hotel to finalize the deal. And right when they pull into the hotel parking lot, suddenly, bam, they're surrounded by feds. And there, they arrest Thad. Here's his mugshot. And they also arrest Tiffany. Here's her mugshot. And after Thad is arrested, the feds go and they raid his home and they find actual dinosaur bones and fossils, which he had previously stolen from a museum at the University of Utah where he went to school. So the dude is just out here stealing all kinds of artifacts. Anyway, Tiffany and the other intern, they both get 180 days house arrest, and Gordon is sentenced to 5 years in prison, and old Thad, he gets sentenced to 8 years in prison.